The founders at History Part 5 and 6. Greetings, beloved creators. I trust you have found our series so far to be full of intriguing ideas. Has it brought up more questions than it has answered? If so, that's okay. Keep in mind that we are touching upon only the most basic of events and situations and offering our perspective on the chains of duality as it has unfolded over millions of years. Some of you have been asking about the Orions and Draconians Dracos. We have not gone into detail on these groups because it's not something very strange. I wonder why. I still think that they are the Draco themselves. Suffice to say, our original DNA experiment sort of went astray, so it was you all who created them after all. To use your earthly language, other laboratory technicians and inventors came into the lab in the middle of night. What a lie! You're gonna tell this to a kid, please? And trashed out our equipment and stole our samples and did their own experiments on them and started their own laboratories. Oh, and who are those, if not the Drakes themselves? Do you like our analogy? No, I don't. It sounds like uh, cooking it up, bluff, fairy tale. We have studied your language and customs for a long time and seem to know how to use the vernacular of your time to make our points. The Earth experiment can best understood. However, if we continue our saga back in time to just after the destruction of Maldek, over 10 million souls lost their bodies during the destruction of Maldek. Most of these souls took up residency on Mars, where civilization was already in progress. The souls on Mars at that time were a product of our experimentation, along with groups from many different systems, including Orion and Alpha Draconis. Those groups left their mark many times along evolutionary spiral, but never to a sufficient degree as to seriously alter your DNA blueprint, at least not yet. The souls from Maldek incarnated in the usual manner through breeding among the Pleiadian, Orion, and Draconian lineage of Mars. The civilization on Mars grew significantly in numbers until there were over 100 million souls. We will not go into the principles of soul fragmentation at this time, but suffice to say that the 10 million souls from Maldek fragmented into approximately 50% of the Mars population, which within a period of only a few thousand years. With fragmentation, they mean they kind of multiply themselves. As the population grew on Mars, the fragile atmosphere became strained due to their distance from the Sun. Both Mars and Maldek had thin and delicate atmospheres that could not take the strain of large populations, not to mention nuclear weapons. As the Mars civilization continued to grow, unrest between the various factions grew, especially since many of the Maldikian souls had not learned the lessons of war and had left their bodies suddenly during the catastrophic events there. Although most souls are concealed in between lifetimes, there was still a policy of no interference except to prevent another planetary explosion, and so Mars inhabitants were pretty much left on their own as long as they did not develop weapons sufficient to destroy the entire planet. Oh, so that's wonderful. So you all start up the fight, don't want to quench, extinguish, is it? Let everybody solve their own problem to their own device. You start all the nonsense, the crap, then after you take away your buds. Is that okay to do? Is it morally wrong, right? You think it's cool to do that? The explosion of Mauldek had altered the orbit of Mars and changed the EM frequency band significantly. The climate changed and the great canals were built to transport water from the tropical and polar regions into the deserted intermediate zones. As the climate continued to become more unstable, wars broke out over water rights and eventually conventional weapons began proliferation. Oh, so you want to adopt this approach, this kind of nonsense of water war here on earth, is it? That's why sometimes we have a drought and they say that people will have in the future um, water war. Actually, you want to repeat history from elsewhere to earth, is it? It looks like that's the case. A form of death atomic bombs were developed using heavy metals, uranium, plutonium, and a war broke out using these weapons. Many souls were warned by members of the Brotherhood of Light, later the Confederation of Planets, and were assisted in building underground shelters and eventually underground cities. The Brotherhood and its related organizations neutralized many of the weapons to prevent a repeat of the Mauldek experience. About time. Nevertheless, the Martians blew holes in their atmosphere and severely disrupted the ecological balance to the point of rendering most of its life forms extinct. I really don't know about that. I don't quite trust all this material be given here. Not all this is lies mixed with truth. And it's the same thing that they are saying about the Martians. They are saying about Earth that we kind of screwed up with our our atmosphere at the point of create, of course, the ozone layer. And now they are talking the same thing about Martian. Sincerely, I don't know what to think, and I don't quite believe that this information is 100% true. And yes, those are from the group Luciferian. Yeah, yep, I know, I feel it. Some survivors of the atomic bomb blasts made their way underground and joined those already there. Once underground, they have to battle for survival, is it? They continue to rebuild their civilization until a new level of order emerged. Of the approximately 100 million surface souls, about 10 million survived and went underground. That's terrible. That's really terrible. Those the how to say, the genesis of the Nephilims, the history of the Nephilims and fallen angels. It has much to do with these off-world battles and wars, senseless wars caused by dragons, right, and reptilians and others. To prevent further attacks, the underground cities of Mars were sealed off from the outside world, and scientists, oh, they were just like a net. They were forced to go underground to get away from the radiation emitted by the nuclear bomb. Outside world, the scientists managed to create an artificial environment capable of sustaining up to 20 million souls. And I guess that these 20 million souls were all the chosen one, the elites, the rich, the governments, etc., the military. Over time, great dust storms spread across the surface of Mars and eroded most of the cities and the architecture. Remain to this day are a few pyramids and rectangular buildings. Now they are talking about Mars and not Earth. Enough to remind your scientists that there was once life there, although such information has been suppressed from the population. As for the underground cities, they still exist and are still inhabited to this day, but have evolved into fourth density and are not visible to most who inquire. They are in a flimsy subtle form, invisible to our eyes. Your scientists will discover some radioactivity on Mars that cannot be explained solely by natural rock formations. This is the residue of the atomic explosions. And since some of the elements used have a half-life of millions of years, what happened to the 90 million of souls that did not go underground? You guess it. They migrated to Earth and reincarnated into the melting pot of Pleiadian. Uh, let's correct here. Let's make it clear. When they say that they migrate to Earth, doesn't mean that they came with bad and all. Okay, what they mean, because they do not explain properly. They go around and round and round. They do not explain. They do not go straight to the kill. What they mean is that they died. Yes, they died. Just like the victim of COVID, the victim of all the artificial disaster in these centuries, and tsunamis and so forth. So they died. They did not actually come with bad and all. So when they say those same things applies when they tell that we go to other planet, doesn't mean people who doesn't understand is not the layman who doesn't cannot rationalize the breakdown details. They'll think, oh, I just go inside the spacecraft, just like that. If it is bad, and I go to Mars or I go to Venus, just like that. No, you can't. You can't. You have to die. You have to die, and you have to go with your light bar to the other side, pass through evaluation, pass through tests before you can be allocated to other places. Okay, and that's what they mean. What they mean when they say that. They migrate to Earth and reincarnate into the melting pot of Pleiadian. And look at reincarnated for those who thinks there's no such thing just because you're a Muslim or you are Christian. See, evangelist doesn't mean that all you know is all there is. Only you have the truth. Doesn't mean that you does not hold the absolute truth. So let's keep an open mind to every possibility possible. There is no reincarnation, it's still there is reincarnation and incarnation. Do you understand? We do not live just once. That's nonsense, rubbish. Ignorancy kind of thinking. Draconian and other groups that had reorganized since the destruction of pain. So they migrate to as a reincarnate the melting pot of Pleiadian, Orion, Draconians, and other groups that had reorganized since the destruction of. I can't know who are Draconian here. Draconians. I know who are they. And I know who are the Pleiadians and the Orions. I know. The Founders on Earth History Part 6. Same time, they once disclosed it in the same time. Beloved creators, we are the founders coming to you in the infinite light and love of the Creator. Today's discussion begins a new level of information that comes with a disclaimer. The material given in this discussion, the ones that follow, is based information that has been heavily suppressed by certain powers and influences that have been in control of your planet for a very long time, and they suppress this information. It's our intention to reveal the information that has been suppressed and to do so in the clearest and most accurate way possible. We are not aware of any souls and earthly embodiment that have disseminated this information in the past with 100% accuracy. This is due to the difficulty involved in extracting the information from the Akashic records. Although all information in the universe is freely available to anyone who sincerely requests it, like me, only those souls that are no longer able to be influenced by the councils of regal and draconian councils have been successful in getting through the system of distortion placed in the ethers about your planet. In some of your channeled writings, this etheric distortion is referred to as the frequency barrier. Until recently, we have not been allowed by the Godhead or the Source to tamper with this etheric distortion field. It has only been since about 1950 AD in your timeline that divine intervention has included the ability to remove etheric distortion fields from your planetary sphere. In later discussions, we will examine the levels of veiling put open your vibratory sphere and the reasons for each veil. Some of the veils are naturally occurring phenomena related to the drop in vibration experienced by 70 density souls on their way to experience 3D density reality. Others were placed intentionally by various benevolent factions in order to prevent the so-called dark forces from gaining too much power and thereby violating the free will of ascending souls. Other veils were placed intentionally by so-called dark forces in order to prevent ascending souls from gaining enough power to put an end to Orion, Draco, and Sirius involvement with that. Since there are apparently no earthly souls that have been able to extract all this information successfully, we caution that this channel may not be able to extract all the information. Saul Raquel and the founders make no guarantees of the complete accuracy for any of the channeled information given here. You see, even they are not sure of this accuracy and their veracity. You see, not even they are sure of their trustworthy, something like this, of their credence. So how are we to know that all be given here is actually correct? That's why I see something very fishy in some of the information, and I know that they are lying somewhere, somehow. We urge extreme discernment when viewing any channeled material, and I would encourage you to be wary of any channeled material that claims to be 100% accurate. They said we need to lay some groundwork for, for what is about to be discussed. The Luciferian rebellion is discussed at length in some of your religion's writings, including a highly distorted book called the Urantia. It distorted, they say, that to the best of our knowledge was brought to earth by the councils of Andromeda. The information contained in that book was offered by various entities in the Andromedan councils who attempted to access the Akashic records during the period 10 million BC to the time of Jesus Christ. Some of the information is accurate and useful, but the Andromedan entities were unable to piece some of the views surrounding the period detailed in this discourse. Therefore, many of these entities relied on second-hand information given them by various members of the councils of Betelgeuse and members of Sirius A and Sirius B, who were participants in the Earth experiment during time period covered herein. So Sirius A and Sirius B, like always I say, they are involved in all this here, and so are the masters, the ascended masters, from whose place they come from. Many of the archangels and ascended masters had accurate information pertaining to their time period. Of course, because they are responsible for all these things here around that here happens around, but were not allowed to disseminate the information due to violation of free will and no interference. The energy transmission of our group, the founders, and several other high density groups are sufficiently able to piece all the views regardless of who or what put them in place. There are certain visualizations in DNA code patterns associated with the stargates and portals that must be accessed in order to pierce the views. The ancient mystery schools existing at various times on your planet were set up primarily to move souls along the spiritual path, by those from Sirius and the so-called founders, to the point of being able to access the stargates and portals. The system of initiations and rituals given through such secret and not so secret orders as the Brotherhood of Masons, the Rosicrucians, the Order of the White Rose, and the Order of the Purple Rose were for the express purpose of teaching souls to pierce the veils. But they keep for themselves. They do not share this to the public, and that we were left in the dark, while only the chosen few were able to access all the information, all the secrets. Am I right? And that's not fair. In the beginning of these organizations, a number of souls attained knowledge of the stargates and portals and were able to pierce some of the views. However, these souls were not evolved spiritually to the point of being able to remain pure in heart and mind, and many misuse the information given. Uh-huh. So after all, you have chosen the wrong people. You have break your own faces by choosing people to carry all those informations. Due to lack of discernment, they gave the DNA codes to various negatively polarized T groups, which enabled these groups to enter the stargates and portals and wreak havoc in the astral and etheric planes of Earth. These entities merged their DNA codes with the codes of evolving Earth souls. Uh-huh. And what you did, why haven't you interfered? Why have you people, you entities interfere and stop them? Both directly through energy transmissions and through mass incarnations, thereby corrupting the original intent of the secret and not so secret mystical orders. All of the mystery schools mentioned above and several others have been infiltrated by negatively polarized ET factions, and as a result, the leaders of these organizations are controlled in their negative largely by the ego-based desire for power, money, material stuff, and control over others. I'm going to repeat this because it's very important. The ancient mystery schools existing at various times on your planet were set up by primarily to move souls along the spiritual path to the point of being able to access these stargates and portals. The system of initiations and rituals given through such secret and not so secret orders as the Brotherhood of Masons, the Rosy Cross, the Order of the White Rose, and the Order of the Purple Rose, and the Black Rose, were for the express purpose of teaching souls to pierce the veils. In the beginning of these organizations, a number of souls attained knowledge of the stargates and portals and were able to pierce some of the veils. However, the souls were not evolved spiritually to the point of being able to remain pure in heart and mind. And they talk about ETs. And many misused the information given. Due to lack of discernment, they gave the DNA codes to various negatively polarized groups, which enabled these groups to enter the stargates and portals and wreak havoc in the astral or etheric planes of Earth. These entities merged their DNA codes with the codes of evolving Earth souls, both directly through energy transmissions and through mass incarnations, thereby corrupting the original intent of the secret and not so secret mystical orders. All of the mystery schools mentioned above and several others had been infiltrated by negatively polarized ET factions, and as a result, the leaders of these organizations are controlled largely by the ego-based desire for money, for power, and control over others, and sadism even. This ego-based lust for power and control can be very devious and subtle, masquerading as one upmanship and spiritual pride at having achieved the level or that level in the organization. With each level attained, the individual accumulates greater degree of responsibility for the functioning of the organization and the regulation of its members. This is especially dangerous when the ego is in charge. There have been numerous well-meaning world leaders who have gotten caught up in these negatively polarized energy fields, while still believing they are doing the work of God. This is one of the reasons certain elements of this information have not been revealed until this time. We, the founders, are confident that there are now enough souls pure in heart and mind that would not, under any circumstances, misuse the information that we are giving it through several channels at this time, including this one. Anyway, even if some of us try to, we cannot go far with it anyway. It's just for us to navigate the problems of this life, nothing else. It's not to get some material stuff or whatever. It doesn't gonna help nobody to go that far. We are not given actual DNA code configuration during this current transmission, but we are given the energy pattern necessary to piece the views. Some souls who are tuned to these messages will be sufficiently evolved to be able to piece the views directly. Others will need the proper DNA keys and codes, which will be given later. It's not our intent to withhold any information that is needed by our planetary light workers. However, even at our level of awareness and vibration, we have made what you call errors of judgment. Good of you to accept it and to admit it. And times past that particularly led to the current situations on earth. To the best of our knowledge, there are 90 groups or channeled entities that are immune to these errors of judgment. Correct? Very, very correct. Free will is a complicated and challenging principle at all levels of evolution. And dangerous, can be dangerous for the involving souls. While we truly understand the mechanics of free will, we use the utmost caution and respect when making decisions that affect the free will of millions of Earth souls. Up until about 1950 AD, there were virtually no controls in place to prevent the light and dark factions from battling out to the bitter end. With the advent of nuclear weaponry, all that changed, and the Godhead issued the decree of divine intervention that most of you know about, allowing direct intervention in certain matters when it was determined that such intervention would prevent the violation of free will of a large number of Earth souls. Once souls on your planet reach an inner vibratory rate of 50 density awareness C, their well-being is protected by our dispensations as carried out faithfully according to the divine principle. But please hurry up, because we vehemently and desperately are in need of it. One of your scientists, Dr. Hawkins, devised a vibratory scale that's rather crude, but somewhat useful, and we will use the scale to make our point here. The souls whose inner calibration level is 500 above, or whose outer calibration level is 400 above, automatically enter a protective field of energy generated by our members and certain other high density groups involved in implementing divine dispensation. At this time, there are approximately 16 million souls on your planet vibrating at or above the levels indicated. That's good. That's really wonderful news. So yeah, I always felt that I don't know, up to now at least, I've been a little bit uh, spied on and even followed around. And I'm not sure that I'm protected, but roughly I am. Roughly. Keep in mind, beloved creators, this is not a packing order or device with which to feel more or less worthy. All of God's creations are worthy. That's true, even the animals. Everyone on your planet deserves God's love. Perfectly said. Indeed, the short, the tall, the black, the white, the blue, the brown, the dog, the cat, the worms, the oh, everything, everyone. And sadly, most of us in an entire need of this love. Because when we lost our loved ones, there is nothing left to lean on. There is not one so unworthy of being saved. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for you religionists. Anyway, this is not about being saved. This is about being granted the access to the stargates and portals necessary to assist humanity and breaking free of the effects of the Luciferian rebellions, which we shall discuss in a moment. I see. Stargated portals. There is a music, The Secrets of the Trees, that they speaks about it by the Tangerine Group from the early 70s. Those men were of Pleiadian origin, and I guess they are a British group, and they speaks more or less directly about all these things that's talking about his Stargate and portals, whereby they say we cannot go inside that door. Beyond that door, in this kingdom, losing things passing by, creating dreams that will pass me by. We can need you, but beyond that door, and that's the door that he's talking about. All those souls with pure minds and hearts have been allowed to access the sacred DNA keys and codes and enter the stargates and portals responsible for maintaining the veils of illusion on your planet. Any soul who sincerely desires to be free can and will be free. This is a divine law. Ask and you shall receive. Is as valid today as it was the time of Jesus. However, there are certain safeguards built into the ethers and astral regions of your planet that were necessary in order to respect the free will of souls evolving on your world. We will have more to say on this later, but at this point we will get on with your history. The pre-Lemurian period on your world corresponds roughly to 10 million BC until about 1 million BC. During that time, your world slowly recovered from the great flood, and life forms began to proliferate once again. After the destruction of Maldek and the atmosphere of Mars, Many of those souls came to earth and reincarnated, dramatically raising the population. Earth was once again mainly a tropical jungle with about 90% water cover, and all the polar regions were cool by comparison. But that was the, it's not billion. Before that, the S was cooler. So it's not true. The heat come after the Drake's invasion. What you're saying? Something not correct here. It was not tropical jungle, not totally. I mean, yeah, this period that it is talking about, yeah, it's true, but long time, maybe, I don't know, maybe hundred millions of years ago, it was not like that. It was the advent of some races that came here to enslave the already indigenous beings that were already here. They increased the temperature of the atmosphere. Light attracts light, and as the souls from Maldek and Mars continued coming to Earth, the vibratory rate of Earth dropped to match the vibration. Oh, I just can imagine. That's why when the ordinary level of Earth dropped below 50 density, souls from neighboring systems were able to access the stargates and portals surrounding Earth, which were not regulated at the time except by the law of attraction. Although the Orions and Draconians already had a foothold on Earth, they came by leaps and bounds once the vibration dropped below 50 density. Oh my goodness. So basically, they remove all the Lemurian people to replace with the Mars people, the Mars soul, the Mars energy, and the Maldek energy. So many of people mainly choose the new from the new world, from Americas, is mostly from Maldek and Mars. But also they have a foothold on, yeah, they were from giant Atlantis. But the Atlanteans, no, the Atlanteans were not Mars. I don't think so, because the Dracos have destroyed the Pan civilization, which were already in Atlantis, which were Europe and America's continent. And so those people are not from Mars. No, they want it. Maybe though the current beings that were born in the current Americas, maybe some are from Maldek, some from Mars, some from other planets, and some were from Atlanteans. I myself, I was from Atlantis. I made a I made a test, not a test, it was a psychic test. It's a Akashic record test. And yes, they said I came from Atlantis. I was an Atlantean child. But that's why I was born in the Americas. And when I say Americas, I mean only now, this current period, of course. Of course, I'm an old soul, and I have been born in Europe long time ago. I have been born in Egypt. I have a memory of being in ancient Egypt. I have memory of being in ancient Greece. See, and maybe even ancient Greece also had some link with Atlantis. And our I was also in the Atlantean period as well, was in Americas. So I'm a very, very old soul. Very, very old. As I have to go through all that I went to finally focus in this study, in this type of occupation is study. I don't want to study everything. I want to study what I have forgotten. I want to remember what they have caused me to forget.